Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from Street Scores coming to y'all with a couple of topics today. The most important part is this Washington football team versus Cowboys final injury update. We find out who's out, who's questionable. Are we going to get Landon and J.D. McKissic back? Is Tony Pollard even going to be healthy enough to play for the Cowboys? And why that's going to be so important against us. I also want to give y'all an update on the Pro Bowl voting and how some Washington football team players are already being snubbed in the early voting process. So we got to get out there and go vote so we can get some of our guys in, because it's not even just because we're Washington football team fans. A lot of these guys actually really deserve to be in, so it's crazy that some of these guys are not in right now. And then of course, almost every video I'm coming with some random crazy stats, so stay tuned for that at the end of the video as well. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get notification immediately and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Also, you make sure you check out the rest of the channel. All of my videos are organized in playlists. I even have a comedy playlist for all of my funny videos. And of course, man, every week, y'all know, make sure y'all pull up for the Sunday live stream during the game and the live stream after the game, where y'all call in and voice y'all opinions on how y'all felt about everything that went down in the game. Hopefully it's going to be a dub stream. Let's put together 5 wins in a row. And without further ado, let's get it. All right, so let's start with the positive news. Brandon Scherff looks like he's ready to go, full-blown, healthy, full participant in Friday's practice. So was Ricky Seals-Jones, so we're finally getting him back for the first time in a few weeks. And remember, before he got hurt, he was playing 100% of snaps, so losing him was a big loss, but at the same time, it's giving John Bates room to grow and mature right in front of our eyes, because he's been balling out. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later when we get to the crazy stats portion of the video. Also, center Tyler Larsen should be returning. He was a full participant in Friday's practice as well. Jonathan Allen was limited all week, but he's good to go. And then Curtis Samuel is your typical questionable, but most important, Jamin Davis, who suffered a concussion in that Raiders win, looks to be questionable. He was a full participant on Friday. That's good news to hear that he'll be ready to go. First of all, because when guys go in concussion protocol for us, they normally miss at least a game. Benjamin St-Juste, J.D. McKissic, who we're going to talk about soon. So that's good to hear that he was in concussion protocol and was able to play in the very next game. That has not been a thing for us this year. Also, I mean, you see that he's learning. A lot of the mistakes he made in the Raiders game were just missing tackles, but at least he was in the right place at the right time. He was moving with speed. It looked like he was thinking less, and that's huge. That's some of the most difficult parts of learning the linebacker position. So he's getting the mental stuff down. He's thinking less and moving more, and he made some plays. He had some highlights in that game, but he just has to improve his tackling. If he went out there and just tackled very well, never missed a tackle, we would have said that Jamin Davis looked like a Pro Bowler out there, because he did almost everything else right. He just wasn't able to finish the plays. He did the hard parts right, and then just couldn't put the last finishing step on, which is bringing the guys down to the ground most of the time. He got a couple of tackles though. But then also, very important, we're getting Landon and J.D. McKissic back, possibly. Both of them did not participate in Wednesday's practice, and then they were limited Thursday and Friday, both of them. So they're questionable going into this game, but it looks like they probably will play. So we'll have to monitor that, because that's huge. Getting Landon and J.D. McKissic back is going to be huge for this game against the Cowboys. We need them. So overall, good news from the injury report. The only bad news is that Schweitzer is out and linebacker Jordan Kunaszyk is out. But at the end of the day, when Brandon Scherff is starting and Tyler Larsen is available at center, Schweitzer shouldn't be in the game at all anyway. So it's not like we're necessarily missing anybody unless there's an injury to the center or guard position. As long as everybody else can stay healthy, Schweitzer isn't a very noticeable loss. Even though he's a really good offensive lineman, again, he's not a starter. So it's not even like we'll notice his impact unless somebody else gets hurt. And then we have to go to another backup like a Sadiq Charles. Then that's when we'll feel it. And then on the Cowboys side, the only player that's out is wide receiver Noah Brown. That's not a huge loss for the Cowboys, but who could be a huge loss for the Cowboys is running back Tony Pollard with his foot injury. Did not participate in practice at any point this week, so he's questionable going into this game. We'll see if he plays. It sounds like even if he does play, he will not be 100%, but it's quite likely that he doesn't play at all. Again, which is great news for us because, I mean, Ezekiel Elliott is a threat, but Tony Pollard is definitely a bigger threat, especially with the way that we were tackling against the Raiders. 1 or 2 missed tackles, Tony Pollard's probably taking it all the way to the house on a regular run play. So him not being there for the Cowboys is a huge loss for them. I mean, because granted, they have all of their best receivers, but right now, if we're able to get pressure on Dak Prescott, that's not necessarily going to matter. But not having Tony Pollard is going to probably make them one-dimensional because Ezekiel Elliott is not the same guy he used to be. I mean, look at him. He's on the injury report, even though he fully participated in practice all week. So he's just this consistent banged up. He's not the same guy he used to be. And then wide receiver Cedric Wilson, tight end Sean McKeon, linebacker Micah Parsons, and of course Ezekiel Elliott are all full goes. Now, Micah Parsons was a limited participant throughout this week in practice, but I think that was more precautionary than anything. I think he's a full go going into this game. Oh, and before we move on, look at this tweet from Trevon Diggs. I did not know he grew up a burgundy and gold fan, or at least it looks like it. This is a tweet from October 30th, 2018. He said, "Let's go Skins, HTTR." Of course he deleted it because you know people were on his head about it. So man, we got to go out there and make him a fan again. And Terry McLaurin, you got to go out there and cook him again like you did the last time y'all played each other. We need some more of that. And that's why JD McKissic is so important too, man. Because JD McKissic makes them have to add more to the box. If we can just run down their throat with Antonio Gibson, quick passing game with JD McKissic, that's going to bring guys up. And then we can hit those bad Cowboys corners down deep with Terry McLaurin and guys. DeAndre Carter, maybe even Curtis Samuel finally. Now the Pro Bowl voting update. As of right now, defensive tackle Jonathan Allen has the 3rd most votes out of defensive tackles. Long snapper Cameron Cheeseman is 4th, and return specialist DeAndre Carter is 1st. All very deserving right there. I mean, again, it sucked that we used the 5th round pick on Cameron Cheeseman, but nobody's complaining now when he's out there doing his thing, and he's even getting recognition from the rest of the NFL. He's 4th in long snapper voting, again, out of all long snappers in the NFL. 4th out of 32. Sounds like it was a smart move to go to Cameron Cheeseman. But now we got to get to these snubs. First of all, off top, I'm thinking of Terry McLaurin, but we're going to get to him later because I got to show y'all some crazy stuff with him. But Antonio Gibson is being snubbed. He's 5th in rushing yards out of all running backs, and he's the only one in the NFC in the top 5. How is he not at least in the Pro Bowl? You have Jonathan Allen, then Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry, who hasn't played in weeks, and he's still 3rd. That's crazy. Nick Chubb has missed a couple of games as well, and he's 4th. And then again, Antonio Gibson is 5th in the NFL in rushing yards, the only player out of the NFC. How is he not in the Pro Bowl right now? They're gonna have to just go ahead and force him in there. I don't care what the voting is looking like. The NFL committee in charge of this needs to step in and just place Antonio Gibson in there. They got to. I mean, what is important as JD McKissic is to our offense, you might want to give him some consideration as well. And then, of course, offensive lineman wise, I mean, we have the 2nd best pass protecting offensive line in the NFL according to several advanced statistics and metrics. And we've just been running offensive line musical chairs. So at least the guys that have been there the whole time, like a Charles Leno and an Eric Flowers, should definitely get some Pro Bowl consideration. They are 2 of the very rare full season starters of this top 5 offensive line in the NFL. With all of these moving parts, I mean, Eric Flowers is having to play next to 4 different centers this season. And not even just at 4 different times. It's not like the next center came in and stayed healthy. We would go from center 1 to center 2, then center number 3, then center number 3 get hurt. We go back to center 2, then we move to center 4. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's different crazy combinations that Eric Flowers has been having to deal with to the right of him. And then Brandon Scherff missing games, and Wes Schweitzer having to start from him, and then Wes Schweitzer having to move to center. I mean, Wes Schweitzer deserves some Pro Bowl consideration just from that, having to start at both right guard and center. And again, all of this chaos going on and putting in work. 2nd best pass protecting offensive line in the NFL. And if we had Samuel Cosmi right now, we would be one of the best run blocking offensive lines in the NFL as well, because he was the best run blocking tackle in the NFL for the first few weeks as a rookie. And then last but not least, saving the best for last, Terry McLaurin. The fact that he's not even in the running is just crazy to me. He already has 808 yards so far. Also, just to let you know, Terry McLaurin is on pace for 1,000 this season. If he gets there, he will be the first Washington receiver to have back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons since Henry Ellert, 1994 to 1996. Shouts out to Michael Phillips on Twitter for that stat. But the reason I'm talking about that in the Pro Bowl section is because Terry McLaurin has 808 yards this season, and this is the type of coverage they're playing on him. I already showed y'all how he was getting triple teamed in the red zone on that Antonio Gibson touchdown, and we would not have gotten it if Terry McLaurin wasn't such a threat. Now look, in the same game against the Raiders, Terry McLaurin going deep. All of this help for him. You have two receivers being covered by three defenders in one part of the field, and then you have Terry McLaurin eating up the attention of three defenders by himself in another part of the field. Terry McLaurin deserves to be in the Pro Bowl for sure, for sure. And then now for some crazy stats. Not sure if you know, but John Bates snap count percentages for the last 4 weeks are 64%, 99%, 57, and 57. But it was down to the 57s because Logan Thomas was back. Now that Logan Thomas won't be here, expected to firmly go back up into the 60s, probably even back to 99% again. So even though we will get Ricky Seals-Jones back, especially with how well John Bates has been playing, expect John Bates to still get a lot of playing time because he's been blocking very well in the run game and he's catching things thrown to him in the passing game, and that's all we need you to do. That's what we drafted him to do. When you really look at it, we got some really good players late in this draft, man. Jamin Davis is starting to form into something that kind of looks like a first round pick. We're not going to count him yet, but Samuel Cosmi in the second round, the best run blocking offensive tackle in the NFL before he got hurt, and he was improving in pass protection. Benjamin St-Juste, while he was playing, was pretty good. He was our most consistent corner when the rest of our secondary was terrible. De'Ami Brown has had some rare high moments, but we're working on that. We're not going to count that. But John Bates in the fourth round, huge. Derek Forrest hasn't done much for us yet, but Cameron Cheeseman with a 6th round pick, my fault, I said 5th round earlier. I mean 4th in Pro Bowl voting at his position. Then William Bradley King hasn't done much for us, but Shaka Toney, 7th rounder, doesn't play much, but when he does, he has a huge impact on the game. Dax Milne has contributed a little bit, and then if you even go back to the last draft, James Smith-Williams, 7th round pick, been helping us a lot. Remember, Cameron Curl was a 7th round pick as well, and he's our best player in the secondary. So these draft picks, man, we've been hitting on these late ones. I mean, we can have a whole discussion about how well we've been hitting on draft picks and free agency with J.D. McKissic, Charles Leno, Cornelius Lucas, Logan Thomas. I mean, I can go on. There's probably like 6 more names we can name. Now that William Jackson is finally starting to get into himself, DeAndre Carter, there's so many guys, man. We've been digging deep and finding talent in the hardest places. Free agency, late in free agency as well. Not even like the star signings, like the random guys that we pick up later on, like after the first week. And then late round picks, man. Yeah, we've been doing some evaluating, y'all. And that's why our team is doing as well as it is now. Our depth is crazy, as you can see on the offensive line. We have guys that can contribute in so many different ways. I mean, this team is definitely building to something great in the future. And then your daily Taylor Heinicke stat. Since week 10, he has the 3rd highest QBR on 3rd downs out of all quarterbacks in the NFL. Justin Herbert is first with a 93.9. Tom Brady second with a 90.1. And then you have Taylor Heinicke with an 82.1 right in front of Aaron Rodgers, who's 4th with an 81. Also, Jeremy Fowler broke it down very well, pointing out that Taylor Heinicke was signed as a practice squad player a year ago, 2 days ago. And now he's the starting NFL quarterback with a higher QBR with the 50.1 than Dak Prescott, more passing yards, 2,809 than Ryan Tannehill, and more touchdown passes, 18 than Derek Carr, Matt Ryan, and Lamar Jackson. Also, shouts out to Tay and Todd podcast. I mean, y'all know them, man. I shout them out almost every video. They tweeted out 2 really interesting stats. First of all, the final score of 17-15 has only happened 14 times in NFL history, and we just had it back to back with our Seahawks and Raiders victories. Also, they brought to the light that the Cowboys are the most penalized team in the NFL, averaging 8 penalties per game. So I don't know, all this trash talk that Mike McCarthy's been having out there, and his team is the least disciplined team in the NFL easily. And then Washington is the 9th least penalized team with 5.7 per game. And then lastly, in very random news, just for those of y'all who may not know, as of today, we are the 6th seed in the NFC, but also, most importantly, if the playoffs were to just suddenly start this weekend for some reason, we would be going head to head with the Buccaneers for our third game against each other in 2 years, which is crazy. Not in the same division or nothing. This will be our third time playing them in less than a year. They are currently the 3rd seed. We are the 6th seed. The Cardinals would have a bye week. The Niners, the 7th seed, will be going against the Packers, the 2nd seed. And then the Rams, the 5th seed, will be going against the Cowboys, the 4th seed. And honestly, I like our chances in that matchup. I feel like the Rams will beat the Cowboys at this point. I feel like the Packers will whoop on the Niners, and then the Cardinals have a bye week. I think we have a really good chance of beating the Buccaneers, especially with all of this momentum we have. And the run game going and the defense starting to play like how we expected them to play at the beginning of the season. Can't wait to get Montez Sweat back, but we'll see about that situation. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please like this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. And as always, man, I appreciate all of the support, man. Shouts out to everybody that donates to the channel, man. I really appreciate y'all. And a special shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors whose names you see scrolling on the screen right now, man. I really appreciate y'all. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.